Loki is the only recurring MCU film villain. He has appeared in 5 movies, but the interesting thing, however, is that maybe we wouldn't really call Loki a villain. So today we're going to talk about what makes Tom Hiddleston's character so fascinating to us, why does he have such a large fan base, and what appealed to audiences during his first couple of appearances. We're going to be dissecting how he evolved through the different MCU films, and while, spoiler alert for Infinity War, he's dead, but what could be next for the character? So you're listening to episode 34 of AP Marvel. I'm your usual host, Chris Compendio. You can find me at Compendorizer on Twitter. I am here with my usual co-host, Anthony Payone.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Great. And you were at the Pizza Taco on Twitter, correct?
Yes, sorry, I'm not used to that. Sorry.
Yeah,
yes,
I know. We're trying something new. We're trying something new this time.
Trying something new. Yes, I am at the Pizza Taco on Twitter.
I am joined again for, almost the third time in a row. Aaron Beasley is here.
Yeah, hello. You may remember me from the first 10 minutes of the previous episode.
Yeah, we had a little audacity snafu, but we've tried not to let that happen again. We have a guest today. I'm so excited to have her here. Rika, or Vix, as your fans may know you as. What is up?
Hello, my name is Vix, and I like Loki a lot.
That's the first thing you're known for. Yep.
Found the goddamn picture.
Oh, yeah. In the pre-show, you were... Oh, my God. You actually found it?
Yes, I did.
Congratulations. Yes, for the past hour, we have been on this Discord call, and you have been trying to find this picture of Loki that you did.
I just put it in the Discord.
Wonderful. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, what you do, what do you like to do for fun, besides the Loki-related stuff.
So, I am a furry, and therefore I draw animals all day, every day.
There you go.
I've been drawing ever since I was a kid. I went to college for art, which is where I met Chris, and now I spend, like I said, all my time drawing animals for people. I dabbled in YouTube for a bit, hit 100,000 subscribers, and then I was like, alright, I'm satisfied, and and now I'm moving on with more art-related things, and that's where I am right now.
Dope. I will say at the top of the show, I think the furry community is possibly like the friendliest subculture I've ever had the pleasure to interact with.
They're very exciting people.
Yeah, a lot of obviously mostly false stigmas about them. But I think Sonic Fox is really really getting
Sonic
people
Fox
to come around, right?
Is a hero.
I would like to quote Sonic Fox right now with "I'm gay."
Hashtag I'm gay.
Well, I'm not gay,
Hashtag
but
I'm gay.
I'm queer. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, gay means everything at this point. It's
True.
Whatever. We're not here to talk
queer
semantics. Yeah.
My tablet is falling off my table.
Oh man. Yeah. We're not here to talk semantics. We're here to talk Loki. We're here to talk Tom Hiddleston. So let's start. Let's go in the order of, let's say, Aaron, Rika, and Tony. What did you first know about Loki even before you saw the first movie? Are you familiar with the character, the comics character at all? Just curious if you're
I had,
pre-MCU.
honestly, before... Okay, first of all, I was 10, so... I didn't even know, really much about Norse mythology. That was sort of a whole new concept to me, I guess, when the first Thor came out. So, yeah, I had no fucking idea who Loki was before the first Thor.
Rika / Vix. Sorry, I'm gonna be interchangeably. Yeah,
it doesn't
I'm so used
matter.
to calling you Rika though. Yeah, okay.
Vix is the me, or the Rika's my character, so they both
yes.
work. So I didn't. I mean, I recognized the name Thor, I guess, but I had no idea who the hell Loki was until I saw the Avengers. And I'm pretty dang sure that I saw Thor before I saw the Avengers, but maybe I only saw one half of Thor, because when I rewatched it yesterday, I was like, I don't remember anything in the first half of this movie, but I remember most of the stuff in the second half. And I mean, Loki doesn't appear that much in it. I guess he didn't really stand out to me or anything, but I guess none of that movie really stuck with me, I guess. But the Avengers definitely, like ever since I saw that, I don't want to be like, oh my god, I'm in love with Loki, he's so hot. Like, I don't.
I'm a Hiddlestoner.
Yeah, I'm not one of those. I'm just like, Loki is a really interesting character and is a lot like my character Rika. They share a lot of similarities, therefore I think he is really cool. I could care less if it's Tom Hiddleston. I just really like the concept of Loki, a mischievous anti-hero kind of thing, villain, but kind of not really, but also really.
Yeah. Don't shit too hard on the Loki fans. Those are who are just pinning on to watch this episode.
True.
They're gonna rip you apart after this. They know where to find you on Twitter now. Anywho. I'm looking at your drawing right now, and I distinctly remember liking this on Twitter.
Yes, it exists! I'm telling you.
Wait, where's the drawing?
It is in the Discord. It is in the General Marvel channel.
It's not as good as I remember it being, but it exists.
I like it.
Thank you.
Anthony, your pre-MCU
Yes.
Loki opinions.
I think I remember reading about Loki from the comics and also, like, Norse Loki. But, like, Loki, I don't really think that I remember him all
Loki.
that much.
Loki. That's what I thought you were going for.
Loki.
I'm gonna be making that pun for the entirety of this podcast. So, good luck, listeners.
Yeah, we're off to a great start.
Figuring
If
out
you're new to the show,
Which one I'm talking
I'm
about?
so sorry. This is your... Anywho, since let's go Rika, Tony, and Aaron. You don't remember? You rewatched Thor 1 yesterday. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, and you can talk like from the perspective of you remembering the second half from like long ago, or you watching it literally yesterday. But I'm interested how you said that he didn't really stand out to you. You know, how he didn't have much of a presence. So, but did you get a sense, like, going into this first, rewatching it and knowing that, oh, he's the bad guy, how did you feel about his performance and, like, how they kind of played up his motivation in that movie?
Well, so basically the order of movies that I remember watching Loki in is, like, The Avengers,
Yeah.
and then Infinity War, and then Ragnarok, Dark World, and then Thor.
That's whack.
Like, completely in opposite order.
Wait,
So...
wait. Are you saying, like, the movies that you enjoy seeing Loki
Well,
in?
the order that I saw the movies
That you
in.
saw them. This is like Christopher Nolan's Memento. Like, this is like, it's just going in the right direction.
Is you're just gonna be walking into a room, like, just completely shirtless with, like, a bunch of, like, Sharpies, like, markings all over your
Yeah.
arms and, like, tattoos on your, like, legs, just trying to remind you what happened in which movie?
That must be weird seeing him so, like, funny in Ragnarok, but also you literally just saw him get choked to death. But anywho,
Yeah.
Thor 1.
So when I rewatched Thor, I was actually very surprised at how Loki acted, like, the beginning of the movie, because he seemed like very like, not confident, like, playing by the rules, you know, everything that Loki doesn't show in the other movies. Like, he very clearly cared a lot for his brother, and didn't want his brother to get in trouble and all this stuff. Of course, it could have also just been Loki playing his tricks, but they leave it so ambiguous, like, even through all the movies, it's like, is he actually being sincere, or is he playing the long game? So, like, it was just interesting to see that side of him, where, like, that side of him only really shows up again, like, sort of in Ragnarok, and then in Infinity War. Or at least that's how I saw it anyway. So it was definitely interesting, like, seeing that part of Loki because I just wasn't expecting it, I guess.
Yeah, he's kind of like playing this facade, I guess you can say, and then
he has so many like dimensions to him. It's like that's why he's such an interesting character, because like after watching The Dark World and the first Thor again, I'm like, is he actually that evil? Because like if you just watch like the Avengers, you're like, oh wow, this guy's super shitty. But then it's like you watch the other two Thor movies, or the first two Thor movies, and you're like, maybe there's a lot more going on here than we think.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I think, like, accidentally, you watching this in a weird order kind of made the character arc really register to you in a way.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Anthony Paone, you saw the movies in order, I believe.
I did see the movies in order,
except
for The Dark World, which I considered not to be.
I mean, you saw that. Well, you saw that before Ragnarok.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so
I did no concept of what Ragnarok was in my mind when I saw Thor: The Dark World.
Okay. Did you watch Thor 1 in theaters? I don't recall.
I want to say I watched it on TV. Like, one of those, like, 300, like, 400 movie channels where, like, they'll just play whatever movie's on.
Yeah. You saw it before Avengers 1?
I want to say I did. Like, I think my whole family was watching, like, Thor came on, and then my mom was just like, or my dad was just like, yeah.
Everyone gather around, Thor's on.
No, it wasn't like that. It was just like, oh, the movie just, like, happened to be on. It's like, let's watch it. And then
what were your first impressions of Loki, if you even remember?
I really don't remember. I don't want to kind of like, I really don't want to taint, people's opinion, like make up fake words of what my thoughts were on Loki. I just don't really remember him.
It's okay, no one would know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, but I mean, you definitely rewatched the movie.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of seemed like mischievous, like, you know, I'll get you, He-Man.
I'm a trickster.
You haven't seen the last of me. All right,
that is the farthest thing from a Loki voice I've ever heard.
I wasn't doing Loki. I was doing Skeletor.
You're doing like Dick Dastardly or something like that. I don't know what that was. You're about to like hog tie a woman and like put her on the train tracks. And I would have gone away with it too. Upon rewatching it, like, did knowing what happens to Loki, like how, like knowing the end of Thor 1, did rewatching Thor 1 give a different
Thor's heart
layer?
Gets broken like 40 times.
Wait, what gets broken?
Thor's heart. Like the fact that his brother keeps fucking dying, and it's
sure.
Nope, he's not. Haha, I tricked you.
Yeah, so when he fell into, like, the abyss at the end, he was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I know he's back.
Which means that, like, in Infinity War, like, his real death is so much more powerful. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, oh, he's probably just faking it again.
Part of me was just like, oh, he might be faking it, and then all of a sudden, what's it called, when Thanos says, no more...
Thanos said no resurrections this time.
Oh,
yeah, it was like,
as though he was
super
like
meta.
talking to the audience. Like...
Yeah, but also, how does Thanos know?
I never understood that. I think that was a really weird meta line.
Honestly,
no, I know, but
I rewatched that movie recently, and like it almost looks like he's like looking towards the camera, like he's getting there, and it's just
but
like
also, how does Thanos know?
Doesn't he already have?
I don't know. Maybe
no, he only
he
has
thought.
the power.
What's
in
the
space.
stone? He has the power.
I'm sure.
Stone already.
Power
Yeah,
Stone
I'm
and the
sure.
Space Stone.
Okay,
like,
so Loki like jumps off the bridge lets go of the bridge in the first Thor movie, and it's like he probably ended up, you know, in wherever Thanos is, and like tells them this story, and like, yeah, I bet everyone on Asgard thinks I'm dead, maybe, and then like he goes.
That's one.
To wherever, so it could be that.
But does Thanos know about the Dark World one?
I'm sure he's keeping tabs. I'm sure he knows what's going on. He's sitting on that chair, and he probably has a bunch of people feeding him intel. That's the least important part here.
Yeah.
He also seems before he gets, because the Mind Stone's the last one he gets. So like before he gets the Mind Stone, he already knows who like Tony Stark is. So I feel like he has eyes everywhere. He knows.
I thought that was the Soul Stone, maybe, but like probably, yeah. Yeah, we're jumping a little ahead. So yeah, Anthony, any last thoughts on Thor 1 and rewatching it? And, like,
I don't know. I just saw him as
is?
like bad. Like, I will get my revenge one day, Thor.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, I'll agree to disagree. But Aaron, how did you feel about our resident Thor movie
Resident
expert?
Thor fan.
I'd like to call.
Okay, so I have a lot to say about the first Thor movie.
Do
I
it.
don't really remember my first theater experience with it, but I mean, like, yeah. So as far as what I have to say about it, I guess the first thing I talked about hitting on was hostage ship. So I would claim that Loki's situation in the first Thor movie is very similar to stuff like medieval hostage ship, and what exactly that is it was a common method rulers used to ensure obedience of their vassal states and the loyalty of future rulers. So, for example, in medieval times, leaders would take their first or second-born sons, the first or second-born sons of their lord subjects and raise them alongside their own sons, educating them and like largely treating them well, in accordance with like treaties. And then when the son like returned to the vassal state, they would take power, and they would likely be loyal to like the king basically, and that kingdom. So there's an example of this. Edward V of England was in a hostage ship to the Duke of Gloucester, and his reign was largely controlled by the Duke of Gloucester. So that's sort of an example of like hostage ship working. So in Loki's case, I imagine what Odin originally had planned was sort of just to like have him and Thor rule Asgard, and then maybe send Loki over to Jotunheim and be like, hey, y'all know this guy should actually be your king. You might have thought he was dead or something, but surprise, here you go. And then sort of take, like Jotunheim maybe as sort of like a vassal state, or maybe he's just trying to ensure good relations between the two. But given Odin's past with conquering, I think it's believable to imagine he sort of imagined that type of relationship. So that was my first thought.
It's kind of hard to tell, given that like I want to say like Thor 1 did. Like, I think there was a little bit where Odin's like, oh, this can, like, unite our two races eventually or something like that. But, yeah like, I feel like Ragnarok kind of retconned some stuff. So, it's kind of hard to tell overall. But I did not know there was a name for that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, how I talked about it, and, like, before we start the show is sort of like, you can imagine Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones, that sort of situation. I also, I just wanted to say for the first Thor movie, I had a point. Right. Between the first Thor movie and the Avengers, there's, like, a clear change, I guess, in the way Loki acts in the first Thor movie. He's very emotional, like, he seems somewhat sympathetic. And then in the Avengers, he's, like, vicious, and he's, like, very bloodthirsty. Monstrous, and a big reason for that change, I guess, is just mainly the writing, the two writers. So you had Kenneth Branagh on the first Thor movie, and his goal was to make Loki at least look a little bit sympathetic, while I remember watching an interview with Tom Hiddleston, and he talked about how Joss Whedon really wanted Loki to be, like, bloodthirsty and a really, crazy villain, or maybe you could argue.
I think feral is the word that Whedon used.
Exactly that.
Yeah. Probably the difference between Theon Greyjoy and Loki is that like Theon like was aware of it, and Loki was like a big revelation.
Surprise.
For him.
I feel like that makes sense and everything, but trying to like connect it to the actual like world, why he would be like so different, I guess, is like, these are just my thoughts that just have been in my head since watching the movies. it's kind of like, because before in Thor, Loki, that was like his first opportunity to actually attempt to like shine, I guess, and he didn't quite know what he was doing, and he was just kind of going for it, so he is a bit shakier. But then in the Avengers, he like is given the power, he's given the help, people are listening to him, and he's like, you know, becoming more powerful and more confident that way. So I think that can add to like how vicious he was and stuff, because it's like that door has been opened for him, and his opportunities are like there, you know, where it's
yeah, like
For
he has
sure.
kind of a I almost said a low-key awakening. Resisted.
I've sent it off. I know not where.
Ah, dear lord. He kind of
I
like
fucking love
he was
that
awakened
dumb
by
line.
the end of. We did talk about that line in the Joss Whedon episode, but I guess him finding out about his history kind of awoke him a little bit. But
yeah.
I still kind of my read on Thor 1 gets a little confused sometimes, because I feel like they did show that there were some seeds of treachery earlier in the movie from him, but he didn't learn about his history until like later in the movie. So maybe I misremember something, but that's always been like a weird, inconsistent thing for me. With that, let's move on to Avengers 1 and Rika, and then Aaron and Anthony.
Yes.
Rika, since this was the first Loki movie you saw. Let's call it a Loki movie. And obviously there is a larger ensemble, so Loki is the bad guy. He is the villain of this movie, and he has to kind of carry parts of the movie by himself to kind of balance out against like the original 6 people.
Yeah.
So, opening scene, Loki comes in through a freaking blue portal, and he's like sweating and looks like a mess, and he like grins and has this creepy smile. Like we were talking about, you know, Aaron was saying that Joss Whedon made him a little more violent and feral, and there is a lot of theatricality. So, did Loki like register to you as a did he like win you over with that first appearance?
It's hard to say because it's been so long since I watched it for the first time. But I'd say that like his style, I think, more than anything, is probably what captured my eye the first time, because like he is kind of he reminds me a lot of like Scar from The Lion King, like him versus Thor. Even like just an appearance is very Scar Mufasa-esque, and of course I think Scar is a much more evil character than Loki, because Scar actually wants to kill his family, but Loki, I don't think, wants to actually harm his family, just based on how he reacted in the movies, but whatever. So, and The Lion King's my favorite movie, so having that, like, very Scar-like character appearing and being very powerful, I think, was scary, kind of, like, not like, oh my god, I'm so scared kind of thing, but like, I'm scared for the characters because he comes out so strong and so menacing, that it's like, well, shit, what are people gonna do about this kind of thing?
Yeah, he's kind of a rabid dog, you know,
Yeah.
like unleashed. When you mean style, do you mean like visual or like presentation or just his?
Yeah, because Loki is very lean and he's got long, greasy black hair. He's got like this dark sounding voice, and he's got green, which is very, you know, big in Scar's aesthetic. And then Thor has like the flowing blonde hair, he's very muscular, he's got the low voice, and he's got the red. So like, it's the very, very like parallel to each other, you know?
Yeah. I think Tom Hiddleston is really fun to watch in that movie. He doesn't like ham it up, but like he there is like a theatricality, like when he's speaking to that crowd in, I mean, this scene took place in Germany, but in real life that was clearly not Germany, as we mentioned in the Joss Whedon episode. But he's kind of grandstanding, and it's just this really I love that moment where he's taking the dude's eyeball out.
Oh yeah.
And he has like this little glance where he's looking at all of the horrified reactions, and there's a very subtle smile that he has, and I just love that little bit. Aaron, Avengers 1, how much do you remember about that?
Oh yeah, I loved the first Avengers movie. I went and saw that like 4 times in theaters. So, I just sort of loved everything about it. I would say, what really appealed to me, like that first circle shot, which is sort of iconic, and I really like the shawarma scene. As far as Loki's presence, to me in this film, he does a great job. He's very threatening. He's maybe a little more one-dimensional in this film than in the first Thor movie. He does have those couple seconds where he's like hesitates, but then he goes on to like stab Thor and stuff. So it's not, he's not quite as conflicted in my opinion. So this wasn't really the film that captured my attention, but it definitely did capture a lot of people's attention with Loki, as like there's that big 2013 Comic-Con with like Tom Hiddleston in the full Loki gear, and like everyone freaks out. So I would say after this movie is pretty much the height of like Loki's I would say Loki has the biggest fan base in comparison to the other Avengers like characters at this point. Like this is probably if after the first Avengers, the fan base is probably like second only to like Iron Man's or something. Yeah. And then Captain America gets a little bit bigger with the Winter Soldier, and you have Spider-Man entering the MCU, so he has more competition now. But I would say
Cap was pretty lame in that first Avengers movie.
Yeah, I would. So and no one liked Thor yet, so he's...
Loki was tossing Cap around in that first fight scene.
Yeah.
It was not a good watch, and I don't know, like I agree with both you and Rika that like yes, Loki had like kind of a menacing presence, but he physically gets knocked around a bunch in that movie to the point where I found it a little comical.
Oh, it was funny as hell.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I'm not even just talking about the Hulk part at the very end, but, like, literally everyone gets a hit at him, whether it's, like, that first Germany scene where Iron Man has, like, AC/DC in the background and he just blasts the fuck out of Loki, or he gets hit by Iron Man's suit flying out of the thing in the tower, and, Loki beats him up, Thor beats him up a little bit. Black Widow doesn't physically get him, but she has that moment when he's in the glass prison.
Yeah.
And Hulk does the thing. Hawkeye blows him up with an arrow.
Oh, no.
Like, everyone gets a hit on Loki. He gets beat up so much. Anthony, did that affect your view of did he seem like a serious villain to you?
The first act of the movie, I kind of had this inkling of he's he's kind of bad, but I kind of knew where it was going. And then the second half of the second act, and then into the third act, it was very much like he is he's very corny and bad, and it's like, oh, we know what's gonna happen now. The heroes are gonna come back up and beat the shit out of him. But it was very it was a very funny, and then it became very comical the way everyone was getting all their hits in.
Yeah. Even Coulson, before he died, he got a blast on him.
And I think that was the beginning of it's he's going down. So yeah, and I think he was kind of like a big punching bag at the end.
Yeah,
a literal physical punching bag. But still, I think it's risky for a team up movie to have the same villain as the villain in a previous movie. But they kind of reconfigured his character into a way that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, the performance itself, super fun. I know I was ragging on Avengers 1 during the Joss Whedon episode, but Tom Hiddleston can act. It's a really fun performance. Anthony, I'm gonna look back to you because you only saw The Dark World because I made you watch it for this student talk, for the Stuco class, the student talk class that we talk about.
Yeah. I actually mentioned that in class on Tuesday. I said, yeah, I suggest you guys do the homework. I actually never saw Dark World until I took this class. So, yeah, I didn't even watch it. I said, like, I didn't watch it with subtitles on, so I had no idea what the Dark Elves were saying, but it didn't really matter because, like, I understood the plot of the movie. Nor did I care what they were saying.
That's ridiculous.
Bad guy does bad thing.
So, just counting the prologue flashback and the post-credit scenes, the first shot of Thor the Dark World is Loki in chains, and the last shot of Thor the Dark World is Loki sitting on the throne. Anthony, is this actually Loki the Dark World, the movie?
I don't know. Who gives a shit? Loki, that movie sucked.
Wow.
I'm very
okay,
blunt.
Aaron. I'm gonna go to Aaron instead. I'm gonna skip
I
Anthony.
didn't finish. Let me finish.
Yeah,
my
go to
take.
me.
That was a very harsh.
Anthony,
that was a very
what
harsh
say you?
thing. Let me finish what I was saying. I just felt like you got like he's much more of a supporting character than in any other movie in the Dark World, and I think that's fine. I think that's cool, but it's definitely still a Thor movie. It's not a Loki movie. They put a lot more Loki in because of the reaction after Avengers 1.
They did some reshoots and they put more Loki in that movie.
That's true.
Aaron, what is your less negative take?
All right, so I'm happy to talk about this because I think a big problem early Thor had was he wasn't. This is something Taika Waititi talks about a lot. He wasn't like the most interesting character in any of his films. He was just he's in most films like he'd be the villain. He's like the jock who has everything. Everyone likes him, and you're supposed to be like, oh yeah, this greasy, ugly dude. He's like, so what they do is, like, he's sort of, Thor himself is just, he's great, he's got everything, and then Loki turns out to be a more compelling character because you see his flaws much more, like, present, and so I think as far as Thor the Dark World being a Loki film, yeah, maybe at least at the very least, it's a Thor and Loki film rather than being just a Thor film because a big portion of the film is, hey, we've got to collaborate and do stuff. He does die and then doesn't appear for the ending act, but outside of that, if they just cut that bit out, which would have made the film better, it's a joint venture on their part. So
yeah, I think I mislabeled that by calling it a Loki movie, but I have always said that I think Loki is the only one with a clear character arc, and I think that opening shot and final shot kind of visualizes that. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely a showcase for Tom Hiddleston, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Loki's on the throne in all 3 Thor movies too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he physically sits on it, yeah.
Well, he, I guess, was technically rolling in all 3 of them because in the first one,
you're right. Yeah.
He takes over, and then in the other 2, he's just pretending to be Odin.
Yeah. That's all he wants. He just wants to be on the throne.
Yeah. He got it. So really,
build
him just a mini Loki throne.
Yeah, like a kiddie seat, like a high chair, but it's just
you just put like a folding chair next to like the real throne. Have him sit there.
Yeah. It's actually just a little step stool. Rika, so wait, you saw The Dark World like after Ragnarok, right?
Yes, I watched The Dark World like on Tuesday.
For the first time?
Yes.
Wow.
It was pretty boring.
Did you have any opinions on? Because obviously it seemed like Loki had the closer relationship with Frigga, with their mother.
Yes.
Did that register to you at all?
So I was taking some notes during the movie, at the beginning, and then I realized that I already pretty much knew everything about Loki. Like, the movie didn't really add anything about Loki to me that I didn't already know, except that he really liked his mother. That was, like, the main thing I got out of that movie. and I thought that was interesting. Like, it seems very cliche, obviously, you know, where he has like this jealousy of his brother and feels inferior to his father and everything, but his mother was the one who was like always there for him and like truly loves him, and I mean the other two obviously truly love him, but like he felt that most from his mother. And I just thought that was maybe cliche, but I still thought it was interesting because it, you know, shows part of him that that like has emotion and everything.
Yeah, I think it's meaningful to see that, yeah, he actually does give a shit about at least one of his family members, so
Yeah.
he's not totally removed from them, and I
He's
think that's a
not
really important
heartless.
component of that. And also, like, I think it was you, Aaron, who said, like, they're like, it was like a co-venture, it was like a Thor and Loki movie, and that really shows when they're escaping, and actually the moment I really like was they're bickering when they're trying to escape Asgard, and there's this moment where Loki is just he's mocking Thor, and he's like, "Oh, you're really messing this up, aren't you?" And then Thor's just kind of like, "Shut up," and he throws him off the ship.
Yeah.
By itself a funny moment, but like there was a plan there. He like lands on that other ship, and it was all part of the plan. They abandon the Dark Elf ship, and then they go on their little cruiser, and Loki just kind of goes, "You lied to me. I'm impressed." So yeah, I mean, how did you, and anyone can jump in here, how did you feel the actual Thor Loki relationship was different at this point? Because I mean, you know, not a lot of character movement here, but I think there is something a little bit with how they play with that in the last act, especially when Thor thinks that Loki is literally dead.
I think, yeah, I mean, kind of like, I think Thor Ragnarok, he becomes, like, we'll get into it, but Loki becomes chaotic good, but in every other, like, I think in Thor 1, he's neutral, and then in Thor 2, he's more chaotic neutral, where he's very much doing stuff for himself, and he has his own set of morals and understanding, and he does it in a very chaotic way. So that's why he, like that dynamic between, like, that specific line between Thor and Loki was very much telling of Loki's character, and also he still respects Thor as his brother, like, even though not, like, actual brothers, but, like, in a sense of, like, hey, we are brothers, it's just that I want power. I don't really, like, if you're just by my side, I don't really care. Like, I respect you, I'm not gonna, like, try to kill you. I just, you know, I just want the power. But, like, I respect you. Type of thing. And I think that was more prevalent in Thor 2, and I actually kind of appreciated that part of the dynamic.
Anything to add, Aaron?
Like, a big part of their relationship is just Loki dicking Thor over, and when we get to Ragnarok, you know, we'll see that handled a little bit better, so, yeah, that's...
The way that I read that scene was that, like, or like, I guess most of the stuff that happened in the movies, or the first two movies, was that Thor and Loki had a very close childhood. That's basically what I got out of that, but, like, they would always clash, and that was kind of a bonding moment where it's like, hey, you did something that I would never expect you to do, something that I do. So that was kind of just like taking it back to, like, when they were kids, I guess, and when they had a closer bond, and it was just like a nice little moment.
Like, I think it's like brotherly, like, infighting, where it's
Yeah.
like they fight but yet they care about each other. And I'm not saying that, like, like in real life when brothers fight each other, it's not necessarily a good v bad thing. It's just, you know, like, some cases it is, you know, like, respect,
Sure.
mutual respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
mean,
it's
the
like
argument they
cats
have
playing.
when they are, like, traveling through the actual dark world, and they're, like, kind of arguing, and, you know, their mother comes up, and they, like, grab each other, and they're mad, and it's this very, like, intense sibling argument, but, like, it's felt like a sibling argument, I feel. Last thing about the dark world, I think I think it was you, Rika, who was talking about like being sincere and genuine in the first movie. So when Loki goes along with that whole plan, the whole plan with Jane Foster with Natalie Portman at the end, and he fakes the whole cutting off his hand, and there was a moment where he actually shields Jane Foster. He kind of jumps on her to save her, and his death, like however fake that was, it was staged to like look as heroic as possible.
Yeah.
So I mean, barring that, like, I didn't do it for him. Would you say that Loki genuinely, like, was he held hostage, or like did he actually, like, by Thor, or did he actually like care about Natalie Portman's well-being? Was he actually invested in making this plan work? Like, was he truly like, Thor's equal? Was he his friend there?
I personally don't think Loki gave a shit about Jane Foster. I think he did that for Thor.
I
definitely.
Ooh. I was gonna say I disagree. I think your point makes more sense in that he doesn't care necessarily about Jane, like the person. He cares about what Jane means to Thor.
Yeah, exactly. Because just by the way that the Asgardians talk about humans or mortals, they seem like disposable to Asgardians. Like, they want to protect like humans as a whole, but don't care that much about the individual, if that makes any sense. So like, I feel like if that was just any old human that was there, Loki probably wouldn't have gone out of his way. But because it was a human that had significance to Thor, that's why he protected her.
No joke, I actually think that will be like an interesting plot point when talking about Thor, like whatever Thor 4 is. It's actually not going to be space related. It will be more like Asgardians are on Earth. And how Asgardians would interact with humans, and how humans would interact with Asgardians. And hopefully they do it. And it could be controversial the way they do it, but if Taika Waititi comes back and does it, it would be great. The way like
that'd be interesting.
The way that people treat migrants, the way that people treat migrants and asylum seekers and refugees, and kind of, I mean, I'm not saying like we should make an absolute analogy to the Asgardian people as refugees or asylum seekers because they're based off of white blonde people, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, except for Heimdall. Rip.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, in the sense that Asgardians historically are based off of that, but Asgardians in the MCU and in the more recent comics are more diverse because that makes more sense. So hopefully it makes it like it's carried over well in a Thor 4, because I think that would be more cool, and it brings it more down to a realistic level than what especially coming off of Endgame and Infinity War, where it's very much bombasticness. But yeah.
Don't forget, white supremacists were mad that Idris Elba was cast as Heimdall.
Yes. So.
God damn it.
He was great as Heimdall.
He was very good.
Yeah,
Little side note.
Think he. Yeah. I know Idris Elba was frustrated during the Dark World that he felt he wasn't doing anything, and he was contractually obligated to like do all these really physically taxing and menial special effects shots, and he wanted to quit, but I guess Taika Waititi convinced him otherwise because.
And he did, he did a really good job in Thor Ragnarok, and I think that was like really interesting, like the way that they were able to include him a little bit more.
Was his voice like oddly a lot lower and boomy in the first Thor movie?
Probably.
A lot of the voices
that first Thor movie
had a lot
very
of that.
Different.
A lot of the voices in the first Thor movie had that, and that's because of the Shakespearean, tone and
It was more ethereal, and also Chris Hemsworth's eyebrows were dyed.
Oh my god!
I hate. See, I can't watch old Thor because of those dyed eyebrows.
I didn't even notice.
Now you will.
I mean, I was drawing while I was watching it, so I wasn't paying too much attention.
Yeah, sure.
But
That's also the only movie they did that because they realized, oh wait, this looks terrible. Ragnarok.
Okay, so you know how I felt about Ragnarok, Chris. Oh my god.
All right,
Actually, you have to remind me. I know we had
Is it a hot take? Is it a hot take, or is it not a hot take?
Alright. So the first time I ever saw Ragnarok, I was on a plane, and they were playing it on the plane, and there was no dialogue. I mean, there was no sound. There was no sound.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there, like, half asleep watching this movie with no sound, and I was like, okay, this movie fucking sucks. Because I was so bored watching it. Like, the action wasn't interesting until, like, the end when Thor goes all lightning roddy. Like, that was pretty dang cool, but, like, everything else, like, visually just didn't interest me. And then, like, when I saw, what the fuck is his name?
I don't know, Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. When I saw him, I was like, really? And, like, there, I could see, like, I was trying to, like, figure out what the movie was about without being able to hear anything, and I was like, there's so much slapstick that just looks stupid, and there's some sort of drama with this chick with weird hat, and I don't know what's going on, but it seems like there's a lot more drama here than the movie is, like, is it being too goofy when it should be serious, like, blah blah blah, and I was like, this is stupid, I don't want to see this, like, this is dumb, it's boring. And then, like, I said that to, like, my sister, I said that to Chris, I said it to a couple other people, but, like, the ones who had seen the movie were like, no, you need to watch the movie with sound. And I was like, I don't believe that there is funny enough dialogue to make this movie worth it with the sound, because...
Please tell me you changed your mind. Please tell me you changed your mind.
Then I watched some reviews, because I like to watch movie reviews on YouTube, and I watched some reviews, and they absolutely loved it, and I was like, okay, I gotta see what this is about. And so my boyfriend and I watched it together, and I was like, this movie is fucking hilarious. I was so
I hate these jokes that I can't hear.
I was so mad at myself.
Thank God, because I think me and Aaron were about to go off.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so, like,
yeah,
the reason why is because I had this idea in my mind that a movie needs to be interesting on visuals alone. So that, you know, if there, like, a movie shouldn't have to rely on dialogue alone to be a good movie. Like, because I'm a visual person, I enjoy, like, comics that don't have any dialogue. I like to be able to tell what's going on just from what I'm seeing. Like, that's just the kind of person I am. That's the kind of thing that I enjoy. And because the movie didn't do that for me, I got really frustrated with it. But after watching it with the dialogue and everything, it may not be, like,
and did you watch it? Did you
watch it, like,
movie?
I mean,
they're gonna go off again.
I know a lot of people that actually, like, despise Marvel movies, like, hate Marvel movies, and said Thor Ragnarok was the only Marvel movie they enjoyed.
Like, I'm not saying that it's a bad movie, I'm just saying, like, it's not, like, you know, one that you're gonna find at the Oscars or something. It's not, like, a groundbreaking movie or anything, but it is friggin' enjoyable. Like, I enjoy a lot of movies that aren't good movies. And I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's just an enjoyable movie, because that's how I feel about a lot of movies. I can be very picky.
Okay, all right. So I have a couple of points to counterpoint that, because Jesus. Okay. So did you end up enjoying the visuals when you were not on an airplane and half asleep?
I mean,
or no? Because
sometimes yes, sometimes no. Like, I like a lot of colors. I like a lot of colors which aren't usually present in Marvel movies, so, like, that's just kind of to be expected. Because I'm a big cartoon person. Like, my love of colors is on the level of, like, Spider-Verse, okay? So...
Oh, yeah.
so you have a high bar for colors.
Yes, basically. And
so,
some
like,
of the...
it's basically Spider-Verse, Guardians 2, Guardians 1, Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, like...
Okay.
I have a high bar for visual stuff. And I thought, like, after giving it a second try, I thought it was definitely a lot more interesting visually, because I was actually paying attention, and I could see it correctly, and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
It's probably on a better screen than on an airplane,
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, not an Oscar movie, but, like, I would have loved to see that get a production design nomination, because I love the way Sakaar looks.
Yeah.
I love the, a lot of the different shapes and the architecture. It feels very
sound
Jack
design?
Kirby-esque straight from the comics.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like a very comic booky world.
Yeah.
I would also like to. I will send you a link. I don't know if you watch. There's this one dude who his name is Movies with Mikey. He does a very great, because I'm going to show you.
There's a guy named Mikey who watches movies.
A guy named Mikey who watches movies. Actually, he was in the game business, and then he started doing movies. But that's beside the point. I'm going to send you a link to one of his videos about why Thor Ragnarok is amazing, and hopefully it may increase your enthusiasm.
Okay,
for it.
I don't want to force our friends to. Like,
I know,
the
but
same movies we do. But
I
like,
know,
sure,
but like,
if you wanna say.
see, like, here's the thing. I'm not gonna like force people to say like, "Oh, Infinity War is amazing," because like I understand its flaws like severely. But I'm just saying, like, I like with so many people I know with disdain for Marvel movies liking Thor Ragnarok, I'm actually just surprised. So that's it.
Sure.
Like, Thor
understand.
Ragnarok
I can understand.
was
Infinity War has flaws?
Yes, it does.
every movie has flaws.
Yes, correct.
I
Except for Cat
am
2.
somebody who does their best. Even if I love it to death, I do my best to find flaws in everything. Therefore,
that is very good.
I'm not like, oh, this is the greatest thing in the whole world. Like, everything has flaws, and I think it's important to find them, and understand them, and then know how to fix them. That's why I say it's not a good movie in the sense of, like, what I mentioned before. Like, it's no, like, I'm trying to think of a name of, like, a good movie. But I don't watch a lot of good movies. I watch enjoyable movies.
You're talking like Oscar bait movies?
Yes.
Like that
I
kind of
don't
stuff?
watch like any movies that are nominated for Oscars.
Yeah.
The Favorites, now in theaters. I don't know.
Although
What is
the
that
movie
movie?
that I think that is closest to perfect, in my opinion, and just my opinion, is How to Train Your Dragon. But that's just me.
I love that movie. I love it.
so good.
I thought you were gonna say The Lion King.
No, The Lion King has so many flaws. I can only watch like half of that movie. I like.
Well, just you wait until the.
Don't
live
even
action
get me
remake
started.
From,
All right, I just
Jon
posted the
Favreau.
link in the Discord, because we have a
Alright,
Discord.
alright.
If people are listening, we have a Discord.
Yeah.
You should come and check it out.
Anywho,
Anyway, I don't want. I don't want to get on a tangent with that.
Loki.
Back to Loki.
Back to
Although
Loki!
we've kind of made full circle, because I mentioned how Loki and Thor were like Scar and Mufasa, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were a little more caricaturized in Thor Ragnarok, because
Oh, yeah,
there was
definitely.
a point where like where Loki is like, oh yeah, maybe you and I can overthrow Jeff Goldblum, and he
Oh
kinda, like,
yeah,
makes
that
these
was so
silly
funny,
gestures, and-
honestly. I
Yeah,
love
it
that.
was funny, but it's like, wow, that's like you can like they have distilled Loki so much to like all the they like make fun of all the backstabbing and whatnot. Aaron, what
Yeah.
did you think about all of that? Like, was that funny, or was
Well,
that
I mean, Jeff
like
Goldblum played a dick in that movie, so I thought it was funny.
Sure. Yeah.
I love
But
Loki.
there was that scene where Thor's like when he tricks Loki at the end, and he like gives him the shocker thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Thor's like, yeah, I've moved on, and you've never changed. What did you think of that part, Aaron? Did that
Yeah, I would
was
say
that moment earned?
Loki was playing the same sort of fiddle for the past couple movies. He stabbed Thor in the first Thor. He stabbed Thor in Avengers. Did he stab Thor in Thor 2? I don't think he did.
He pretended to cut off his hands, but that's the closest
yeah,
we got,
that's
I
the
guess.
closest we got. So I mean, yeah, but he still stabbed him in the back with the whole Jane Foster thing. So I count that.
The whole scene where they're like, where they like do that play off, where like one of them pretends they're hurt or whatever. What do they call it?
Help.
Get
help!
Yeah,
that's
Get
what
help!
we're talking. Yeah, we're getting
That was so funny, because that goes back to like what I was saying before about them being like really close as kids and everything, and having like working together and like being goofy or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was very charming.
Yeah. Aaron, do you want to talk about the snake
The snake. Oh my, yeah, that story. I thought it was funny, of course. I really wish we saw Loki turn into some sort of animal on screen, because I would say that power, it doesn't have much precedence in the actual movie universe, so would have been cool. I would have really liked to see him, like, use some of those frost giant powers, too, if he has any. You know, that I think that would have been cool character development. But, yeah, I really liked the story. I thought that was cute. I loved his reaction when Thor was telling it.
I love rewatching that theater scene in the beginning. Like, this little blue baby. and then like the fact that they do the I didn't do it for him part, but like with Matt Damon, and you see Loki as Odin mouthing the words, like he's just so proud of himself of that moment. Anthony, any Ragnarok opinions? I'm thinking about like how he made a freaking statue to himself, and like at the end he goes, your savior is here, and just like how you know, I used the word flanderized in the Joss Whedon episode, but like, did you enjoy those aspects of Loki just being full of himself in Ragnarok?
Yes, it did. It was kind of I think a lot of it was very because like remember he was used to that. He was used to like a couple of years of being in like powerful. Yeah. And
but what did he actually do in Power?
Nothing. He just sat and ate
as the
grapes.
ruler.
Yeah. He had a party. He had a great time.
Yeah.
I think it's the idea of power that he likes, because then he won't be constantly overshadowed by anybody, and he can just be himself, basically.
He just wants to be himself. And I think
I think at the fact that that's like that's his own personal end game is just like lying down and just like eating grapes is like...
I think that's what he realizes at the end of Ragnarok, though, is that like when he's standing next to like they're all standing next to each other, like he's standing next to his brother, he's realizing like I don't necessarily need the power, I just need to be kind of like considered cool, and I'll get what I want. And I think that's kind of important.
Loki, cool guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like he kind of understands the error of his ways.
I guess he does. I mean, he still like wanted to rule Sakaar, but again, like what does ruling mean anymore? Because it turns out he doesn't do jack shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a nice little way to tie things up with those two. Like they go through a journey together, they bond, they come to an understanding of each other. I think that elevator scene is a really important scene between the two of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They had a very fun dynamic.
Yeah. Very fun dynamic, which we're going to see for several movies to come, obviously. Everyone loves Thor and Loki's adventure, so I can't wait to see more, which is why in Infinity War, Thanos murders Loki. Spoiler alert. But
it's like, you liked Thor Ragnarok? Well,
sorry. Loki is the reason why Thanos comes to them, because he has the Tesseract. Why did he take the Tesseract, by the way?
I'm trying to think of the character reason for that. Give me a second.
I'm just so mischievous, I can't resist.
I don't know, I think he was always tempted by it still.
Yeah, but what he's gonna do with it?
I don't know.
Like, he just has it.
Yeah, the one, it sort of made sense before Infinity War, when, you know, it was like, oh, maybe he's gonna use it to, like, bargain with Thanos, but then he hides it from Thanos until everything's fucked, so I don't know.
Everyone's dead into his shadow. Oh, there's gonna be like some plot twist where like all the dead bodies are an illusion, but I don't know.
But then he gives it up anyway, so it's sort of like...
Well, he drops it, yeah.
I always envisioned it, like, understood it as he was, like, protecting it, I guess. Because the world was being destroyed, and... I mean, they didn't know it was an Infinity Stone, I don't think, so, like...
No, I think they did.
They probably did.
Yeah, they're like, I'm pretty sure that they did.
Volstagg in the mid-credit scene of Thor: The Dark World says it would be unwise to keep two Infinity Stones near each other, and the Tesseract is clearly one.
Oh, I didn't... I was preoccupied during the end credits scene.
Yeah. It's kind of unnecessary if you've seen Infinity War and Guardians 1 already, but yeah, he does the thing where he's about to hand it over, but that's obviously a ploy because Hulk is about to, in theory, about to beat the shit out of Thanos. Obviously, that didn't happen. But I did like the whole callback of "We have a Hulk"
That was
he had after his
funny.
Yeah,
That was really
after his
good.
trauma. I have to get off this planet.
Yep.
So going back to the idea of him being sincere and genuine, what did y'all make of his final grandstanding speech before he got choked out to death?
Oh, the sun will
was
shine
the specific-
on us again, brother. That bit, or
I'm
you
a
won't
little
be
after that. I'm
a
more
god,
thinking
you'll
of
never
like
be.
I do like that line a lot, but I'm more thinking of like when he calls himself Odinson, like really dramatic.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was
I think
cute.
it was kind of like a
Good for him.
like I am part of the family now. He feels like he finally belongs. Like he can accept that he is, like, although he is not related to Loki in blood or Odin in blood, he understands who raised him and who he who he grew up with, and he kind of accepts the family
He
that
has finally accepted them as his family.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
and
The
he's
words.
proud of it.
And he's proud of it.
Yeah. Which is why he screwed them all over.
He also did something similar in the first movie. No. Yeah, the first movie when he kills his actual father, I think,
yeah,
and says,
yeah.
and you were killed by Odinson or whatever.
Ah, yeah. Oh, actually, I forgot about that. How insightful.
Like, as soon as he said that line, that instantly made me think of the line in Infinity War.
Infinity War. Yeah.
Also,
Shit, he killed his dad.
quick throwback.
Wait,
Also
who killed
in
his dad?
Thor,
Wait, what? Oh, yes, he did kill his dad.
Thor called Carson son of Car, or Coulson son of Cole,
Son of Cole.
and I
yeah.
was dying about that.
Fucking great.
I was like, oh
I
my
believe
god.
Sif brings that back when she shows up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Probably.
Yeah.
Where is she?
Yeah,
Watch it. At the end of Endgame, everyone's gonna come back. They're not gonna give a shit. I keep telling people that.
I mean, the theories include, like, Loki as Odin sent her on some fool's errand on, like, some crazy mission. Or maybe he banished her, like how he banished, like how he condemned Heimdall. But I don't know. There's a rumor right now that she's gonna get her own streaming show, but who the fuck knows? Anything else on Infinity War before we start to talk about Loki's overall? Like his last line was, "You will never be a god." And I don't really have a question for that. I'm just interested to know if you have any thoughts on that last line.
No, I think it was kind of accepted. Like, well, it's interesting because in Avengers 1, he thought he was a god. And it's kind of he kind of realized that he is not a god. And that he is...
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what being a god really means in this universe.
Exactly, but I think it was kind of a throwback to the fact that people, like, he thought himself as a god. Mm-hmm. But he is not.
And maybe he
realized...
earns that title at the end, who knows? Okay, so... You know, we have had running jokes here on the show about how we distilled Thor's character arc in Thor 1 as Thor mad, what was it? Thor mad, Thor sad, Thor glad. So if we're talking about the entire arc of Loki from Thor 1 to Infinity War, does anyone want to attempt to summarize, like, in even just like one sentence, like, even if it's like, he was a jerk, but now he's not a jerk, like, what is Loki's
Loki is
arc?
Loud. Loki is Loki. I can't think of Loki.
Loki is proud?
No. Loki pouts and then Loki proud. Something about, like, he's loud and obnoxious at the beginning, and then realizes how to be, like, he kind of wallows in his own misery, and then accepts his sort of fate as, like, I'm not going to be this powerful thing. I should just kind of, like, accept it to an extent, and then he's proud to be a part of the family.
Sure. Anyone else want to give it a stab?
I'd say that, like, what he wants is just to be, like, appreciated, I guess. Because in the first movie, it clearly shows that, like, because Odin says something very interesting where he says that you were both born to be kings, but only one of you can take the throne. Because that's true, because isn't Loki, like, the prince of the frost giants? So, like...
Yes.
At least that's what I think it is.
Yes.
So, like, even from the very beginning, Loki was never gonna end up on the throne. And when he realizes that, like, it just adds to his jealousy and misery. And then the second Thor movie, he's, kind of still like that, but also, like, he's seen the power and everything, and I think he just wants to become his own person, I guess. I'm trying to remember everything that happens in the second one, because I was just not paying much attention. And then by Thor Ragnarok, I definitely think that he just wants to be his own person and just be proud of who he is and everything.
Loki loud, then Loki proud. We did it, everyone.
Yeah.
Aaron, did you want to also try to take a stab, or have you said enough about this, you think?
Yeah, alright, so I would start with he's sort of naive and mischievous when he's in, early Thor movies. Then he's jaded and lost. And I would say in End of Ragnarok and Infinity War, he feels like belonging and loyalty to a certain extent. Still like loyalty to himself, but also maybe some to his like family.
Yeah.
Okay. That works.
I would say he's constantly mischievous. I would say mischievous is kind of like part of his general character.
Well, I would say he was more like chaotic. I would disagree with chaotic neutral. I would say he's almost chaotic evil in the Avengers.
Sure.
So you can go full on like Loki's god of evil / god of chaos. Ooh, we could do it like that. You could say he's god of mischief in Thor 1, then god of evil in Avengers, and then he's just like if you want to go with the comic book arc, you could say, god of stories, but I don't think he's hit that really in the movies. So I don't know, like
it'd be kind of cool if like after all of this, he's kind of like he's seen as like the storyteller of the MCU.
Yeah, I would think that would be legit.
Like
I mean, that might be the direction they go with the
like a
Disney
full
Plus
redemption arc of his character.
Except he's dead.
I mean, speaking of Disney Plus, good segue. Last thing we'll talk about today is that there were initial reports of, I think the initial report from the Hollywood Reporter was like they are making shows based on not like the supporting MCU movie characters, exclusively for the Disney Plus streaming service, which means everyone's gonna pirate this, obviously. But the first two characters they mentioned were...
No, I'll probably get
shit.
it. I'll probably
because
buy
I want to support the MCU.
But I don't know.
Disney has enough of your money, though.
I wouldn't. I think Disney already has enough of my money. I just want to do it
Disney
so I don't have to buy fucking like the DVD to fucking the Winter Soldier every single time.
I won't argue that Disney doesn't have a shit ton of money, but if you want to keep seeing the content show up, you've got to like give it your support to a certain extent.
The first, there's just a report that they're going to make a Scarlet Witch show and a Loki show, and the Loki one was the first one that Disney said, yeah, we're doing that, and Tom Hiddleston said, yeah, we're doing that. So Tom Hiddleston will be on a sort of mini-series exclusively on Disney Plus about Loki. So, a couple days ago, this was January 10th, a colleague of mine, Charles Murphy, he is kind of the Scoops man of that hashtag show. I have worked with him on MCU Exchange. He ran a story about a bunch of rumors going on with the Disney Plus shows. The biggest rumor was that there's going to be a different approach for the Loki series. I'm going to read this out loud. While I was unable to confirm it with a second source, I was told Marvel Studios might be taking an interesting approach to their Loki series. It's been reported that Tom Hiddleston will return to reprise the role of Loki, but it seems that the series may find him narrating the events of his own life. Presumably from the afterlife, Valhalla, following his death at the hands of Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. This opens up all sorts of storytelling possibilities and is consistent with the original reporting on the show, which indicated it could take place at any time during Loki's considerably long life. And it goes on to say, like, obviously, Loki has, like, come back to life in the comics, but, whether or not they cast younger actors for Loki, like, that's not going to preclude Hiddleston from doing more than narrating. So, yeah, I want to know your hot takes on potential young Sheldon, but it's Loki television show.
I got a hot take.
Yeah, hot take.
Okay, I honestly hate the idea of a prequel. I think that would be garbage. And not because, like, oh, I really want Loki to come back or whatever. It's more like, and I'm in support, like, at some point replacing Tom Hiddleston with a younger actor, but I don't see, if you're trying to draw a bunch of people to a streaming platform, why would you start it with a prequel? Because, yeah, prequels, they can be okay, I guess, sometimes, but you're trying to start a whole new, like, franchise, and a lot of people, I think, in my opinion, would, like, prefer to see an advancement of the MCU. So, that backstory, it's kind of interesting, but it wouldn't be nearly as appealing to me as something, like, from the present, or even, like, from the future, so.
Yeah, I mean, this is comparable, but there was a Young Indiana Jones series, and all of the different episodes were all at different parts of his life. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was kind of an interesting anthology approach to that. What I did not like was when they did advance the story and they made Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But, I mean, that could be like apples and oranges.
All of this is based on the idea, like, anything they release, like, a good prequel versus a good current movie, I would prefer the good current movie.
Okay, yeah. That's assuming they would make a good
It's gonna be good regardless. But I don't think I would necessarily want a prequel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how about Young Sheldon, but
people who watch The Big Bang Theory.
I have to pull all of the people I know who watch The Big Bang Theory, which is actually I don't know anyone who does.
No one cares about the Big Bang Theory cinematic universe.
The lore.
It's just like a sitcom. So yeah, like I'd watch a prequel to like Parks and Rec or something. I mean, it's just like, something.
Better Call Saul is an amazing show, I will say. It's very good for fans.
Better Call Saul is an amazing show because they took one of the most interesting characters in the Breaking Bad universe and then gave him a show.
Yeah, they added layers to him that you did not know about him, but we've probably seen like all we needed to of Loki, so even just the concept of a Loki show is not, honestly, none of there is a Falcon / Winter Soldier show that is rumored. There is a Vision / Scarlet Witch show that's going to happen. My reaction to all of them is like, yeah, sure, whatever. That sounds, I'll give that a shot. But like none of them is like, oh yeah, gotta watch this. Like I know, Anthony, you were excited for Winter Soldier and Falcon because you have been
yes.
You've been advocating that on this very show for the longest time.
Let's just fucking do a buddy cop movie. It would be so good. It would. Yeah. After Civil War, I was just like, "Oh, this is lit. I want this. I want more of this."
Yeah, just get the right writers, and yeah, that should.
See, I would say, let's get Shane Black to do something, but man, but still, I want buddy cop. I want a cool buddy cop movie.
Rika, you can get the last word on this. Are you going to get Disney Plus? And also, are you interested in the show?
Well, I don't even pay for Netflix, so.
Do you steal it from someone else, or do you just not watch
my
Netflix,
family
period?
has it.
Yeah.
So like I don't personally pay for it. So like that means I'm not gonna personally pay for any other streaming service at this time. So I'll probably just mooch off of somebody. Or wait.
Just divvy it up with your boyfriend. Divvy it up with Ryan. They said it's gonna be cheaper.
True.
So I don't know.
But yeah, I'll probably check out the shows. I really like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but that's really the only Marvel like series that I've watched. Like I haven't watched like Jessica Jones or Agent Carter or anything. But I do really enjoy Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as you know, as we've talked about.
I love that show as well.
So if it's anything like that, I'm sure I will enjoy it. I think it would be interesting, like if it is like a prequel thing, where they focus on not just Loki the character, but also the worlds. I think it would be interesting to see him traveling to different worlds and experiencing different like creatures and stuff. But I don't know if they would do something like that.
If the budget's there for it, totally, I would love that.
Yeah.
Because we have not seen enough of the other 9 realms, I feel.
And I think it would also be interesting to, like, I would want it to be kind of goofy and less serious, because, I mean, Loki's a mischief maker, so I want to see all the crazy stuff he gets into, and see him tricking people and just being generally chaotic. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah. More mischief from the god of mischief. Yeah. Aaron, if we saw that snake anecdote actually filmed
that'd
and
be
shot...
legit. I would like to see... Yeah, I'd like to see some more, like, Loki power bits, I guess, if it was a prequel.
Yeah.
I'd be okay. You know, I think that would be cool.
When I was younger, he turned into a snake, and he knows how much I love snakes. So I picked up the snake to admire it, and then he bit me, and he was like, ah!
That was actually a pretty good impression right there.
I love that. Was a great scene.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Yeah, but I mean, would you guys watch, like, simply yes or no, would you watch a Loki show? Like, would you watch a full 60-minute episode where it's young Loki and maybe Tom Hiddleston's narrating, but he's not actually Loki in this episode?
I'll watch it because, look, anything could be better than Agent Carter.
Wow, Agent Carter was not that bad.
What is wrong with you?
No, I
thought you were gonna say Solo.
Look, whoa, hold on. Look, Agent Carter is good, but I'm not saying it's like the peak, and therefore anything that Marvel Studios makes will be good.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's a fair point of comparison, considering that is the only show that Marvel Studios has actually has a hand in. But
yes, it's going to be the only TV show that we know of so far to have a Marvel Studios touch. Like Idris Elba could be in it.
Yeah, but I don't know. It could be like Solo.
I don't think it will be like Solo. I think Solo was bad for many reasons.
Oh, man. Okay. I think that'll wrap it up on our Loki discussion, unless anyone has any last-minute words. Going once, going twice.
Loki's cool. He's got dope goat horns!
Aren't they like beetle? Like, aren't they like... All right, I'll play along.
Goat horns.
All right. Loki is a goat. He is the greatest of all time.
Yes, he is.
Going with that, let's wrap this up a little bit. As I said on the top of the show, you can find me at Compenderizer. Anthony, remind people where they can find you on Twitter.
You can find me at the Pizza Taco.
You cannot find Aaron on Twitter.
Nope.
Rika, where can people...
I don't have Twitter.
Yeah. Where can people find you on Twitter? Where can people find you on the internet in general? And what projects would you like to plug? And you can take all the time you want.
You can find me at VixenDunk on Twitter. That's VixNDWNQ. You can find me at BerryMeatArt on Twitter. And I am currently working on... Like, literally at this very second, I'm working on some Kingdom Hearts art. So that's a current project that I am doing. other than that, I plan on making some pins and going to some cons and just being a fluffy animal. I live an exciting life.
Anything we should subscribe to? Anything we should follow? Or
you can
throw money at you?
subscribe to my YouTube. You can follow my Twitters. My YouTube is the same as my Twitter, Vixendwunk. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Vixendwunk, where I give out special rewards like monthly pins, monthly stickers. That's like a new thing that I'm going to be starting soon. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we finally got to get you on. I think we've been talking about this since October.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Oh my.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, with that, you can subscribe to AP Marvel. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Google Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are also on YouTube. We are on Overcast. We are on Pocket. We're on everything. We're on everything you can find. We also have a Patreon. That's been getting a little bit of movement, but we can always use some more cash because we want to be able to pay creators. We want to pay writers to write some very cool MCU takes for us. We have a little letter series called Marvel Musings. I wrote the first one. Izzy wrote the second one. It's a great read, and you should throw $1 at us so you can read that. I'm putting Anthony on the spot here because I think he's next. What?
Throw coins at me. Throw quarters. Give me quarters.
Anthony, I think you're next to write a Marvel Musing, but
yeah.
You know, by the time this goes up, you should have that. That should probably be up, but we can talk about that. Expect some awesome writing from Anthony Paone. We're on Medium.
I am not a good writer, but I'll try.
Okay. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be like beautiful prose. It just has to be your thought train. On paper.
Oh, okay. I have thoughts. My brain has thoughts that can come out of my brain hole.
Yeah. We're on Medium. We are on Discord. Thank you to Charles Villanueva for our graphics. Thank you for Steve Molitor for his music that we add to this show. And also, I have to thank top patrons, so people who give $20+, and we have someone. Anthony, remember James?
Like our friend James?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
James is a patron. And
yeah.
He meets the billing. So James, if you're listening to this podcast, James Grant, thank you very much for your patronage, and we will not disappoint you.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening. Good night and good luck, I guess, if I want to steal from someone. Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Cause mischief.
Good night. Cause mischief managed. Harry Potter crossover event of this. Yeah. Has anyone done that? Has anyone done like a Harry Potter MCU crossover? Because I know they did a Doctor Who Sherlock crossover, and I hated it. That's it. I'm done recording now.
Mine's still going because I'm still drawing. Here, I'll post a picture of what I was drawing. It's a heartless.